Yeah, I just asked Bubba before if he's interested in coming and playing for the Melbourne Renegades, and he certainly is. So hopefully we can announce that signing tomorrow. I'm only joking. If Bubba Azam is available to play Big Bash, any team would love to have him. Any of the Pakistan guys, we love having them a part of our competition. So any opportunity that they can fit into our competition is fantastic, and they'd always be welcome in the Big Bash.
Well, it was a few years ago now, but Aaron Finch was right. Babar Azam is coming to the BBL. He's not going to be playing in red. He's going to be playing in pink. It's official after the draft yesterday, the BBL draft of 2025. Babar Azam to play for the Sydney Sixers, one of several players picked up in the draft where we're going to see some of the biggest names in the game playing in the BBL this summer from Pakistan. Hello, I'm Adam White as we wrap up the draft for this season, and we have got that man who was just talking before, Aaron Finch. Welcome.
G'day, Whitey. How are you?
I'm good. You were right.
Yeah.
He's coming.
Yeah, it's probably a few years too late. And
that's all right. You got it right.
With my broadcasting hat on now, great to have him a part of the competition. With my Renegade heart, I'm still disappointed that he's not in red, but great to have all the Pakistanis be available for the whole Big Bash. I think that's a huge coup for the competition just to have full availability for one, but now some of the world's best players, brilliant.
There's so many talking points to come out of the draft, and one of the biggest talking points of all, apart from Babar Azam, is the fact that Shaheen Afridi, at number one pick to go to the Brisbane Heat, and he will join us a little bit later on in the show. So we're looking forward to catching out one of the superstars of world cricket. So just to touch on the three guns, because we've got Mohammad Rizwan to sort of round out the three. With Shaheen Afridi, how many times did he get you out?
A couple, I think. I know that there was one in T20 World Cup semi-final in Dubai. Blew my front pad off first ball of the game, I think, or first ball I certainly faced. Wonderful bowler. I mean, now that he's got so much experience worldwide, if you look at his PSL record, he just keeps winning titles as captain as well. So to me, that shows his leadership, not just with the ball in hand, but also is well-rounded. So great to have him part. Baba, obviously one of the best players, probably the most beautiful batsman you'll ever see play T20 cricket, never seems to overhit the ball, and the pocket rocket, Mohammad Rizwan, is dynamic at the top of the order. It'd be great to see how he fits into the Melbourne Renegades, but just great to have him a part of the competition. He's played some wonderful innings in T20 cricket. So for the Australian public to see firsthand how, I guess, the domestic players in particular match up against some of the world's best will be awesome to see.
And they're different sorts of players. Even you just going through them then, they all offer something different. So great for the teams, but for spectators, for fans, to be able to see world-class players play the entire tournament and all offer something different, I think is particularly important for the competition.
Yeah, absolutely it is, because you've got a real measuring stick on where our competition is in the world rankings, I guess. Everyone talks about the IPL being the biggest, and obviously it is, but then there's a real battle to see, is Big Bash and PSL and MLC and ILT, South Africa, the 100, how do they all stack up? And now you're getting a continuity of players playing all around the world. I think that you see that, and it'll be great for, the Brisbane Heat attack to be able to learn as much as they can. Spencer Johnson's there. Who else would you rather learn about left-arm fast bowling from than Shaheen Afridi? And the young batters at the Sydney Sixers learning from Babar Azam, the Renegades. You've got a guy there. If I just think with my Renegades hat on, we've got Mohammad Rizwan. He's been around the block a million times, and then you've got Jake Fraser-McGurk, who's just starting out on his journey as a T20 player. Yes, there's been some highs and lows recently, but you've got a guy who's been consistent for a decade. So who better to learn from in that regard? So it's not just what they bring on the field for the spectators to see. It's about what they bring to the franchise or the clubs as well.
The draft is obviously about the overseas players. It was which teams they were going to play for. But just a general comment before we go through each of the teams and what they've done. You talked about it before about players being available for the entire tournament, at least even for the back-end tournament, like our players here in Australia, and then the finals. How important is that, obviously for the credibility of the tournament, but just for the tournament in general, to have, from a planning point of view, from a leadership point of view, knowing that the best players are going to be there when it matters most? Yeah,
I think it's huge, and it's quite uncommon in the modern game with a lot of different tournaments going on. Obviously, it's summer in the Southern Hemisphere, so you've got different test matches or series going on, so people unavoidably duck in and out to a point. But I think to have the best players available at the business end is what it's all about. And then teams are faced with some really big questions. Do we want impact at the start of the tournament to make sure we're there at the back end when the whips are cracking, or do we go with consistency? So you have to weigh all of that up, and when you've got the best players in the world available the whole time, it's a no-brainer that they go very early on.
It's always going to be a juggle with the amount of tournaments that are played at the same time of the year as the BBL. You talked about
isn't it?
The UAE, South Africa, etc. But for the credibility of the competition to have Rizwan, Shaheen Afridi, Bubba come, is that something that potential other countries look at it and go, well, gee, if they're going, maybe we should get involved the following year?
Yeah, absolutely it does, because word of mouth is the best thing when you're talking about tournaments. And I mean, there's times when you play at a club. I played a lot of county cricket for Yorkshire and Surrey in the T20 comp, and it's word of mouth. You go, oh, I've got an offer from Surrey. Who's played there? You go talk to them, and they speak nothing but great words about it. So then you're attracted to that. And same thing happens wherever you play around the world. But if you've got the option to sign with a club that some of your friends have played at and speak highly of it, it's a no-brainer that you get there, because there's nothing worse. And I've been in that situation as well, where you walk into a bit of a rabble and you go, oh, not sure this is the best option, but it's just reality.
Okay, before we go into a team-by-team look at the draft, let's reflect back on that number one pick announced yesterday.
And the pick is in. And it is. Brisbane Heat, we're in your hands.
We've gone for Shaheen Afridi.
All right, it's exciting to see, as I said, those three superstars of world cricket, but so many others that were selected. So we've got to go through each team. We'll start with the Heat. We may as well. The number one pick, and Shaheen Afridi was I think pretty quickly chosen by the Heat as the number one man. But we were going through it before about that bowling attack at the Gabba. Bowler-friendly conditions often up there. Their attack looks pretty good. It's not just Shaheen Afridi.
Yeah, it's bowling friendly with the brand new ball generally, and then the batters can cash in at the back end if they've been able to get through that. But you've got to get through Shaheen. You've got to get through Spencer Johnson, Xavier Bartlett, Michael Neser, Matt Kuhneman. Like, that's a very, very good attack with so many variations in it as well. So great acquisition to get Shaheen. But my only question is, how do they all then fit into that playing 11? You've got Neser, who loves bowling with the new ball. He's successful with the new ball. So is Shaheen Afridi. So is Spencer Johnson. So is Xavier Bartlett. So they've got four genuine brand new ball bowlers there. So how they fit that together will be fascinating. They don't have Mitch Swepson anymore to rely on through the middle in partnership with Matt Kuhneman as well. So that's going to be a real delicate balance, I reckon.
Munro is retained. He had a challenging year last year, but he's too good of a player for that to happen again. Tom Alsop, a bit of steadiness probably as well in that middle order, and a bit of versatility. Do you like what the Brisbane Heat did?
I'm unsure at the moment.
Okay.
I'm unsure. I just think, yes, it's a great bowling attack on paper, but my only question is, like I said, how do they fit in? Who's going to bowl at the death for them in that? Shaheen will obviously be one of them. You pay your man his money and you expect him to do the hard jobs. But then think back 2 years, Xavier Bartlett was bowling 1 or 2 overs up front and then being subbed out of games. Spencer Johnson's still inexperienced in that type of role. So is Michael Neser. He's a forward 10 over bowler. So I do like it. On paper, it looks great. Colin Munro, it's just another year being out of day in, day out professional cricket. So, and that's my only concern when you get to that stage of your career is, how do you sustain your form when you're not batting every day? Think back to when guys are in their absolute prime. They're generally playing international cricket, so they're batting day after day. You're getting pure volume. As you get older, that volume drops off, and then I think that's where you get some more inconsistent performances. Still a wonderful player, still a wonderful striker, but then it just comes back to, is it right at that time? And it can be a really hard balance to get right, because you don't have access to as many facilities as you do when you're playing competitive cricket, well, international or state cricket. So, they'll still be very, very good and right up there towards the top of the table, but it'll be tough.
I just wonder whether the curator has to provide a wicket to suit the bowlers they've got, because we talk about that, whether it be at Marvel Stadium or over in the West, is to provide conditions to suit the team you've got. I just wonder whether they might have not be forced to do it, but whether it's a consideration. Yeah,
if I'm a top order batter at Brisbane, I'm thinking, geez, we might get some spicy wickets here. But there's always one tiny boundary at the Gabba, just with the way that the ground is set up and how the how the wicket block is positioned on the ground.
Yeah.
There's always one tiny boundary
Yep.
towards the change room side. So that's going to take some doing. It'll be tough to navigate that, but all the tools are there.
All right, the Melbourne Stars. Now, there's a lot of sort of a feeling of not the same, but almost the same. Harris Ralph was retained, Tom Curran coming back again, Joe Clark's been at the Stars in a variety of different roles over the years, but no new names at the Stars. Yeah. Is it enough for them to propel themselves into premiership contention?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's always difficult to try and track form this far out from the start of the tournament. You look, Maxi got 100 a couple of days ago in the US, and Joe Clark, he's a damaging player towards the top of the order. Harris Ralph, I think that's a no-brainer. I think that he loves playing for the Melbourne Stars. They love having him. You need a wicket taker either through the middle or towards the back end. You get in batters, it's just carnage towards the back end. Doesn't matter who's bowling. Yep. You go around the park with in batters. Combine that with Tom Curran. I think that's a good, solid closing out. Mm-hmm. Then it probably comes back to how does Joe Clark perform. He's had some great years. He's had some poor years. Maxi, Stoyne, these guys, like you lost the consistency of Duckett. I know that he wasn't at his absolute best last year all throughout. I think he was either, if he got off the mark, he was great.
Yeah,
other than that, he was knocked over early. But I think a lot of that, I was surprised that they didn't go for a world-class spinner in that top. That their hand might have been forced by having Harris Ralph get picked and then have to play the retain card early on. But I think spin's so important at the MCG with the big square boundaries. I know Maxi does it well, but I think there's nothing quite like a mystery spinner on a big ground where you can have the boundaries pushed a bit further back to give yourself enough breathing space as well. It's
always been, or it feels like anyway, the challenge with the Stars has been the spin options, even though it's so important at the MCG. They haven't been able to, whether attract that, as you said, that mystery spinner or someone
was there for a while. I mean,
I'm more talking from an overseas.
Well, I think it just comes down to what you look for and what you want. Like there was options there.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah.
So obviously they're prioritising. They're saying that Harris Ralph is our wicket taker through the middle overs as well, and he doesn't bowl a huge amount with the brand new ball. Only 4 overs up front to navigate. So that's slightly different. So then you do have the flexibility through the middle to use him as that impact style. They've got the left arm wrist spinner, haven't they? From Perth, Hamish McKenzie.
Yeah. Yep.
So you'd expect another year of him coming on. He was brilliant in his first year and some limited opportunities for the Perth Scorchers. And then last year he was good as well.
Yeah,
so
he was.
Maybe they're seeing his growth being good enough to cover that world class or class spin back to through the middle. Can combine that with Harris Ralph is that's why they went there.
All right, the Adelaide strikers, Luke Wood, Jamie Overton and Hassan Ali. Luke Wood was the one that, I guess the strikers were the team. We weren't sure who they would take with their first selection, and Luke Wood sort of got onto the radar quite late, it seemed.
Well, they had a lot of their eggs in the Shaheen basket. They had a feeling that he was nominating before the lottery balls were pulled out, and they were hoping for that left arm quick. And then they went with the second best option. I was chatting to Tim Payne yesterday, and he said that they need that as a part of their attack. They like the variety of being able to bowl over and around the wicket. Obviously, short square boundaries as well. Luke Wood, he's been good at various times. I mean, at Melbourne Stars, there was a 5 in there. There was consistent wickets, shutting down the back end of the innings as well. So I think as a package, he's a very, very good player. I wasn't surprised that he went high up in the first round because I think that when you've got an asset like that, you have to get it early. You can't wait for something like that to slip through because you mightn't get the opportunity again.
And a point of difference as well, obviously, being left arm. And then Jamie Overton, who last year it was almost like his batting became just as important as his bowling. But having that sort of that powerful player through the middle order to come in with 15, 16 balls to play and be able to hit the ball over the fence from ball one complements obviously what he offers with the bowling. Yeah,
I think so. And the dimensions of the ground probably don't suit his bowling as much as some others do. He's somebody who likes to go into the wicket, whether it be pace on or pace off. And with the short square boundaries, that brings some risk. I'm not surprised by his batting. He's a powerful striker. He's very, very good. I like that as a skill set to have locked down for a couple of years as well. So I think that's really important in that regard, that you can then target exactly what you need rather than getting to the draft table and going, oh, we need an all-rounder, and then being left with somebody that might not be your first pick. Hassan Ali, he's used to be a superstar. Whether he's still got that best performance in him, we'll have to wait and see. But I think what he does, he bowls towards the back end very well. Wide Yorkers is one of his specialties. So I think that's a very good signing as well. He can smack it, albeit right down the bottom, and you hope that it doesn't come to that if you're a Strikers fan, relying on his batting. But overall, he's a very, very good cricketer.
All right, so plenty of bowlers in the Strikers offering when it comes to the draft. The Melbourne Renegades, it's an interesting group they've got there, and we touched on it at the start with Mohammad Rizwan as their first selection. Has captained Pakistan, has done so many amazing things for Pakistan. You've played a lot of cricket against him over the years in massive World Cup matches. What's he going to bring to the Renegades?
Well, he's a little pocket rocket. He's obviously a leg side dominant player, but what he is very, very good against spin. He's so hard to bowl to because he sweeps, he reverse sweeps, he uses his feet. So I think that's an area that the Renegades identified that we need more through the middle overs in particular. And when you look at his record, he very, very rarely gets out inside that first couple of overs. So then you've got an in-batter. Well, that's whether he bats at the top or at number 3, wherever that might be. But I think when you look at that selection, it's experience to go along with some inexperienced kamikaze-style players, probably inconsistent players. The risk is so much worth the reward, though. So you're bringing in a really consistent performer who you know won't be overawed being in the competition for his first time. You're bringing in someone who's a very, very good player of spin. So then that gives you some more flexibility as well. That probably gives you the option for Will Sutherland to float up the order a little bit more than probably what he has done in the past. And very good signing.
And he's good square of the wicket, which you need to be at Marvel.
Absolutely.
You know this better than anyone, having played so many games there. And with the pyrotechnics going off at the top of the order, if he was to come in at 3 or 4 or 5 down, potentially, at different times, he can rescue an innings as well as propel an innings.
Yeah, absolutely. And he probably doesn't have the power as much as some other players that were in the draft through the middle overs to walk out. It's not a Maxwell style where you walk out and he's hitting sixes from ball one. But what he will is he skins the cat a very different way. He runs hard. He puts pressure on the opposition. Very hard to bowl dot balls to. So, yes, you look at Fraser McGurk and Josh Brown at the top of the order. Do you compromise that slightly? And it didn't work overly well last year. It was when it went well, it was brilliant. But when it didn't, the rest of the order didn't function quite as well. So maybe you put Rizwan at the top and you say, right, kamikaze style with Jake. You've got a guy who wants to hit square of the wicket and use the pace. Then you've got Jake who's looking to hit in front of the wicket a lot, or Josh Brown trying to just use all of his power, and then try and use Seifert as another good player of spin through the middle.
He balances them out.
He does. It makes them a much less one-dimensional batting style where you're almost last year, you say, right, we're going to bowl as defensive as possible because you know that they're coming at us, you know where they're trying to hit, and you know that they're going to take risks over fielder's head if we stick to our plan. So, good signing.
Hassan Khan will help with their middle order, and Tim Seifert, who played last year, he started the year extremely well, Tim. He kind of trained off a little bit, but if they get more of what we saw at the start of the tournament, we showed how he can win matches from the top of the order.
Yeah, he can. And again, he's somebody who plays 360 degrees, which is so important. We talk about the dimensions of Marvel being short square. You go to the MCG, short straight. So guys using the pace over the keeper is really important. You're almost forcing the hand of what the opposition is bringing to the table. Hassan Khan, I think that he's somebody who they can get a couple of overs out of as well as being a big hitter, dominant against spin. So, I think that selection caught some people off guard in the second round. But overall, I think that they've done well at the draft there, no doubt.
All right, the Perth Scorchers, they always do things a little bit different, Perth, and they've done it again. Finn Allen at the top, who we all know what he's capable of doing.
That was unfortunately a free signing too, wasn't it? So
we didn't see the best of him last year, but even with what we've seen,
I think that there's a reason for that.
Okay.
There's not many players, international players, who go to the Perth Scorchers and are successful in the first year.
Yep.
The conditions you get there are so contrasting. Unless you had somebody who played in Johannesburg, for example, or Pretoria in South Africa, they're fast, bouncy wickets. Maybe not as extreme as Optus Stadium, but it takes a year to get used to it. Finn Allen will come back this year a totally different player. He'll still be high risk, high reward at the top of the order, but he'll understand what needs to be done to be successful at that ground, because it's not easy. You come from England, you come from Sri Lanka, you come from Bangladesh, wherever it might be, New Zealand even. It is so different to any other wicket that you play on that you need a slightly different game style.
Okay. Adam Vo just spoke about Laurie Evans and David Payne having played at the club before. Getting them back was important, particularly Laurie Evans, who's been one of the most successful players one of the most successful international players to come to the BBL.
Yep.
Do you like the look of their team? It's all, as I said, they always do things slightly differently, and there's, I guess, a bit of a skew more towards the Australian players when it comes to the Scorchers.
Yeah, there is. And don't forget they get Mitch Marsh probably for majority of the season this time. When you think of how well Bo Webster's gone in the test matches, they've almost got themselves an extra international player as well. And one thing that the Perth Scorchers have always been very good at, they back their local talent so much. So they find international players to fit in to how they want their team to run. Most other teams don't have the depth that the Perth Scorchers have got. So they're finding the best player and then fitting them into a team and working the rest of the players around them. So that's a luxury that the Perth Scorchers have got. So when you look at that, Laurie Evans, right, some middle order power hitting, maybe about at number 6. At the top of the order, they're going to have Finn Allen and Mitch Marsh, Aaron Hardy, Ashton Turner, Cooper Connolly. Cooper Connolly in there as well. So you look at that and you don't need somebody to compete for that space as well. So then you pick the best number 6 who's had success there. And he was one of the few players, perhaps because he's not a top order player, like an opening batter who can often struggle there. But he had a really good year and struggled last year at the Renegades. So I do like that selection because they love going with what they know. Yep. They're a team and they're a state that they keep going back to the well of what's worked for them. David Payne, left arm, fast bowler. They've lost Jason Berendorf, so they go and just get a direct replacement for him straight away and somebody who can bowl with the new ball as well. So it's no surprise that they went that way because they love it.
Always got to be respected with the way they do things.
And it's been successful for them for such a long period of time. And not just in the Big Bash, one-day cricket, 4-day cricket as well. So, they're predictable but very, very good.
All right, the Hobart Hurricanes, the champions from last year. Chris Jordan returns. We've got Hussain in there as well and Ahmed. So I was hoping that Jofra Archer might get picked up in the draft.
Me too.
Because, I guess we don't know what's going to happen come the Ashes. Because I know Chris Jordan was pretty keen to get him back down there. He's played in purple before. What can you tell us about the Hobart Hurricanes and what they've decided to do at the draft? Yeah,
Rishad Hussain, he's a very, very good leg spinner, Bangladeshi, who gives it a rip. Very different. He didn't play a huge amount of games last year. I think it was a handful. Very different to the most modern leg spinners in T20 cricket. He tosses it up. If he's under pressure, he goes slower. And if I compare him to somebody that I've seen bowl and face quite a bit of, it's Ish Sodhi, somebody who's played a little bit in the Big Bash, where you think Rashid Khan, fast through the air, accurate at the stumps all the time. These guys are different. Rishad Hussain, he will toss it up. He'll make you try and make all the pace. Very, very good googly. Had a great T20 World Cup in the Caribbean.
So who would you prefer to face? A faster, quicker leg spinner or someone that gives you a chance, but you've got to generate all the speed?
Personally, I was more comfortable with the slower guys prepared to toss it up. I thought that they gave me more opportunities because they try and rip it so much. They generally, their length can vary slightly as well. You can get the real drag down, whereas you don't see that from Rashid Khan. You don't see that from other fast leggies. But then you go Adil Rashid, you go Ish Sodhi, Rishad Hussain. They toss it up. So you get bad balls and yes, they can get you out. They can make you look stupid at times as well because they've got very, very good googlies. But he's a very good bowler and Ricky Ponting speaks very, very highly of him as well. Rain Ahmed, he's the other leg spinner that they've opted for. I think it was either the 3rd or the 4th round that they picked him up, gives it a rip, not afraid to toss it up. So there's a theme there from the Hobart Hurricanes. They want wickets through the middle overs. They're not too concerned with runs. You look at their quicks, they've got guys that are very, Nathan Ellis, Chris Jordan, very defensive-minded bowlers. They'll try and duck and dive away from batters, swing arcs, and early in the over, they'll set it up with their best ball to try and get ahead of a batsman. So they're not worried about going for a few extra runs through the middle if that buys them a couple of wickets. So I think that they're two very, very good signings. And Chris Jordan, 3-dimensional player, he's a superstar. We've seen him here for both Perth Scorchers, Sydney Thunder as well.
Yeah, well, he's played a number of teams, different
and
teams.
Hobart, he was very good for Hobart last year in a winning year.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously being pre-signed as well, it forces their hand, but every other team would like to have a Chris Jordan in their side as well.
And he wants to play for the Hurricanes.
He loves playing for the Hurricanes.
He does.
Which for somebody who is so afraid of the cold, that's so rare.
All right, the Sydney Sixers, Bubba Azam, he's there. We sort of touched about Bubba at the start. What role do you think he will play for the Sixers?
The role that he plays everywhere. He just tries to bat as long as he can. He's not somebody who goes away from his game plan a huge amount. He's somebody who looks to bat deep into the innings. He won't be running down the wicket trying to slog the first ball of the innings, but hard to bowl dot balls too. You bowl your best ball, he can get it down to third man, he can beat backward point. Dominant leg side play. You get anywhere near the stumps and he'll carve you up all day. And I think it'll be interesting to see how he enjoys batting on these wickets in T20 cricket more and more. The SCG is not the easiest place to bat, but you've got someone with as high a skilled player as you'll see. That's a good recipe because he'll bat longer. The longer you bat, the easier it gets. Wonderful player. Can't wait to watch him bat.
It is very exciting. There's no question about that. Sam Curran. Now, the Thunder wanted Sam Curran. We spoke last week to Sam Billings about the fact that he wanted Sam Curran to be wearing the lime green, but instead he's gone to the other side of town. Tell us a little bit about him because, we know Tom Curran because he's played a lot in the BBL. Sam Curran we haven't seen as much of here in Australia, but he's a very highly skilled player.
T20 World Cup player of the tournament when it was out here in Australia. Such a competitor, very much like his brother, fierce, in-your-face type player, doesn't back away from any kind of challenge. If the harder the game gets, the more he wants to be involved in it, whether it's bat or ball. He's captained quite a bit now as well throughout some other domestic competitions. So in that regard, he's growing as a player all the time as well. So also think about it from the Sixers' point of view, very cagey. They signed Babar Azam and then announced him in the second round. Still as a platinum player, they had the salary cap room. So that gave them the flexibility to get Sam Curran and that makes a very, very good side now. Greg Shippard, the master tactician as he is, there's some injury concerns over Moses Enriques at the moment. He's back. Will he be good to go in time? We'll wait and see. But he just loves the big moments, Sam. Whether it's IPL, 100, playing for Surrey, he'll be a brilliant addition to the competition.
So, Aaron, you were talking about Babar and what it's going to be like watching him play. But what about that combination of Steve Smith and Babar Azam if it is that they get out and play together in the middle?
How extraordinary. Steve Smith, anytime he's played in the Big Bash, he's looked a class above everybody else. And then you throw in probably the most beautiful batter in the world, Babar Azam, in there as well. So I'm sure that they're both looking forward to it as much as we are as fans to sit down and watch it. I mean, Steve hasn't played with Babar before anywhere around the world. So to get that opportunity, I think they're kind of things that keep you going when you're getting towards the end of your career. And I'm not saying for any moment that Steve Smith is towards the end, but as you get on and you've ticked almost every single box, you get a lot of joy out of small things like that.
So you know Steve better than most. Is he the sort of person that's going to try and outbat Bubba and almost
100%.
make it as almost a competition within a competition?
100%. He tries to outbat anybody. Funny story, I did a commercial shoot with Steve years ago. It was for Weet-Bix and there was a kid, one of the executive's sons had come down and was watching and was bowling to Steve. They said, just let the kid get you out. He said, if you turn the camera off, I'll let him get me out. Other than that, no chance. That's how competitive he is. He wouldn't let an 8-year-old kid bowl him out while the cameras were rolling.
And it still feels like with Steve, there's a point to prove about him in T20 cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's made his point pretty clear that he wants to get to the Olympics in 2028 and be a part of that side. And we've seen in domestic cricket, wherever he plays around the world, he is a level above. We've seen him at his best in international cricket be a level above as well. So it's not that he's got a point to prove because he's won a World Cup. He's been the top of the tree. I think it's just for his own sanity. He wants to be the best player in the world. And that's just a part of that's what's made him as great as he's been for such a long time.
All right. And finally, the Sydney Thunder, who, obviously they got through to the grand final last year, but they were the real surprise packet. But they seem to have done really well. Lockie Ferguson, who they were desperate to have return. Shadab Khan, who's played a lot of cricket here in the BBL, and it enabled them to have Sam Billings as their retention player back into the third round. But 3 real high-quality players.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want to be able to still have seriously good players picked down the draft, and that's what a long-term contract does with Sam Billings. It gives you some creativity, picking holes in your own salary cap, I guess, and saying, right, we'll pay you here at the top of the tree 1 year, but we need you to take a hit in the second year, and maybe you'll move back up in the third. So very, very good from Trent Copeland and the Sydney Thunder to allow that to happen. Lockie Ferguson, he's a player who gets wickets wherever he plays around the world. Has been injured, been playing on and off over the last probably 2 years. So again, that's always a concern with the quicks, isn't it? That they'll be cherry ripe fit to go once a Big Bash starts in mid-December or somewhere around there. So
talk to us about Lockie. What's it like facing him? Because he's not an unfashionable fast bowler. He probably doesn't get the recognition that some of the other fast bowlers do around the country, but he's one of the fastest in the world. Yeah, so what's it like facing someone that bowls as fast as he does, particularly in conditions out at NG Stadium, which can be quite difficult to battle when the ball's not coming off the bat, but it's still coming through quickly in the air?
Yeah, that's probably his biggest strength, I reckon. The way that he bowls, regardless of what the surface is like, no 2 balls will be the same pace. And a lot of the time that's not the wicket's fault. That's just a kink in his action or a quirk in his action. He slightly comes off the side of the ball. So one ball might come down at your 150 and the next one comes down at 145 and then he bowls his slower ball. And it doesn't sound like a big change, but it is. When you go from, well, let's say 135 to 140, that's as drastic a change as going from 140 to 145. Like it's just a different level. So he doesn't bowl the same ball twice. He tries to bowl Yorkers and big leg cutting slower balls. And even when it is pace on, it just never gets to you at the same pace. And you combine that with a wicket that's so inconsistent as it is at NG Stadium out there in Sydney's West. And it's a tough proposition, huge square boundaries. So that's when he starts to come into his own as well. Lots of leg cutters into the wicket, leg cutters wide, making guys try and hit square of the wicket. Very good signing. Shadab Khan as well. He's somebody
someone that's going to be suited by those conditions.
Absolutely. Well, the ball spins out there. He's an aggressive leg spinner as well. And there's a theme right throughout. You even think of Jaffer Chauhan, who was the 3rd pick for the Sydney Sixers, who was on their list last year. He's another one who tosses it up. So maybe the wheel's just starting to turn slightly away from these guys that are all fast through the air. A lot of these spinners toss it up, are prepared to give it a rip. Shadab will love playing out there. Again, he's got the laps and the scoops as well as the power down the ground. So the conditions suit him in both regards. He can use them with the bat and he can use them even more effectively with the ball.
All right, so that's a look at all 8 teams and what they've decided to do in this year's draft. After the break, the number 1 pick himself, Shaheen Afridi. He'll join us on The Surge. Well, it's an absolute pleasure on The Surge to welcome in one of the stars of world cricket. His name is Shaheen Afridi. He's the number 1 pick in this year's BBL draft on the way to the Brisbane Heat, and he joins us now. Shaheen, congratulations and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you, both of you.
So why is it that you wanted to come play cricket here in Australia?
First of all, thank you so much. It's really honor and privilege to join Big Bash. I think there was many reasons. Firstly, of course, as a fast bowler, when you heard about Australia, that was the fast wicket and Finch, you know that. So I think Big Bash is a most toughest league, I can say, and challenging one for anyone to come here and to show the new culture and new thingy, and you can learn a lot of things for the Big Bash. And for me, I think that was my first Big Bash season, so I can learn and then I can take a lot of stuff for my international cricket.
And the great thing is that the Brisbane Heat picked you up, so you're going to have a lot of fun bowling at the Gabba.
Yeah, GABA. I think for when you heard GABA, there was a lot of memory. I played a lot of international game in GABA, and I think in GABA again I saw that spell of Mitchell Johnson in 2013. That was special one. For fast bowling, GABA was always place to bowl and big crowd, and I'll show I'll feel there will be like great when I bowling in front of big crowd and enjoy that moment. I think GABA is always special. I starting my test games in GABA, so yeah, recently played, and the crowd when the crowds come and they support the players, so I will be enjoy there, and hopeful the tournament will be good for us.
And you're no stranger to the big moments. You've obviously been so successful, not just as a bowler, but as a captain in the PSL in the last couple of years. How have you seen fast bowling in T20 cricket changing over the last couple of seasons?
Yeah, normally I always believe to go with normal process, and what I practice in normal, in the nets that I apply in the games, and Finch T20 cricket nowadays is so fast, and for the fast bowlers is nothing. In the wickets there's 2 wickets, but of course in Australia in your bowling, um, you can enjoy. But always in T20, I always calm and positive. Um, Go with normal process. Do normal things. What I prepare in the nets, then I'll apply in the matches. But when you calm and positive in T20 cricket, you had a success.
And you've played a lot against these two players, Marnus Labuschagne and Usman Khawaja. Must be nice to get to play with them rather than having to bowl at them all the time.
Yeah, obviously they are very, is very much looking forward to playing against with them, Osman and Manas, players playing in international level and now in same team, so will be players and in their leadership. So I'm looking forward to meet them and enjoy the time in together.
You're not the only big name Pakistan player that's going to play in the BBL this year. Baba Azam is playing as well. Muhammad Rizwan, Shadab Khan. There's so many high profile players that are going to come and play here in Australia in the summer. How exciting is it that you're going to be joined by some of your teammates and some of your fellow superstars?
Yeah, this year, like six, seven players playing Big Bash. So I'm looking forward also to playing against them. Played in recently in PSL, and they both are big names, and they perform in for Pakistan for the many years. And looking forward to for this challenge as well. I think the crowd will be love it. Especially Pakistani crowd when we playing against Babar and Rizi and many more of them. So I think a good challenge as well. So I hope. We play a good cricket in front of big crowds.
Yeah, you talk about playing in front of Pakistan fans and wherever you go in the world, you've got amazing support. So many fans of Pakistan cricket in Australia. It must be brilliant to play in our domestic competition in front of those special fans.
Yeah, whenever we playing international cricket in Australia, there was a lot of Pakistani come and support us. I think special things on the Big Bash. The crowd is coming. All supporters will be more so enjoyable when the Aussies come and they cheer us. So it will be more enjoying.
Well, that's going to be really exciting, I would imagine, for you to play here in Australia and have all the fans, particularly at the Gabba, cheering for you. So what I want to know is, are we going to see the famous celebration when you take the wickets in the middle of the Gabba?
There will be more special when first over wicket will continue in same process. Yeah, of course, I will do my all energy put in, and that celebration and that support behind crowd. The with I will be more. happy when say again the Aussies and Pakistani cheers and call Afridi when I was on my mark, so we'll be more pumped, and I think I'll be enjoy more.
And you talk about the big celebrations and how much you love taking wickets. We know that. We've seen it all. I've been on the receiving end of it, unfortunately. David Warner, you'll be coming up against him. He plays for the Sydney Thunder. What's your relationship like with Davey? And it must be special to knock him over.
Yeah, played recently in PASL. Warner is a legend, and he's a very good person, and I really like him and the way he, put his energy in the middle, and always fun with him, but challenging is as well. He's a great person. But will be more, good when I take his wicket again. And of course, playing against him always is challenging. He's a great cricketer, and he know me as well, and I know him. So I hope I'll take his wicket in all of games. So it will be more. I will be more enjoying and takes more celebration in front of him.
So what would be a bigger wicket if you were to clean bowl David Warner, Steve Smith, or Bubba Azam? Which would give you most joy?
uh, I think for me, yeah, all of three. I don't say one, but all of three. Because playing against me and crucial wicket, the all three is crucial wickets, and they are the main players in their team. So I will love to take all three of them.
Do you find it hard when you play against teammates that you've played so much cricket with for your country, whether it be in the PSL or obviously coming up here in the BBL? What's it like? Because I'm sure you know all their strengths and all their weaknesses when you're standing at the top of your bowling mark before you come in.
I think sometimes a bit tough because I bowl them a lot of time, and then they know about the what I ball in early on and then in the middles. But there was also that I can know their strength and weaknesses. But I can say Australia's big ground is the sixes is not easy. But yeah, when you're bowling in Australia, don't think that was flat wicket or a good bounce figure. You always will be happy the pace the wicket is produces.
So, Shaheen, tell us, for the cricket fans here in Australia that haven't seen a lot of Babar Azam play, how good is he, and what should we expect when he comes out and plays here in Australia?
Yeah, he perform around the world. He's a top performer. People love him, and he perform in international level, big stages. I think he's the one batsman who always runs, and we all expect for him and to run, go for the same flow. And he's a big name in the world cricket.
And you've done a lot of captaincy over the last couple of years, Shane. Let's look at the Brisbane Heat bowling attack that you're going to get to work with. You've got Xavier Bartlett, very good young bowler, Spencer Johnson, somebody very similar to you, Michael Nisa, who's very, very experienced. Tell us how you'll go about fitting into that group and what you'll be providing to them in terms of leadership and experience.
Yeah, playing against Spencer Johnson. He's a world class bowler, a very good process and progress. Uh, s- Sharing end with him, a young left arm fast bowler. He's young in international cricket, but he's a very good bowler. And mention more other players, bowlers. I think for me, there always you learning in your life. So I can say that was for me is very exciting. I'm really excited for meet them, and uh, I can learn for a lot for them, and there will be more feeling good when we win the trophy.
Well, and just to finish, Shaheen, Aaron mentioned it before about the amount of success you've had personally playing in the PCL. You know how to win titles. There's no question about that. What would it mean to come down here this summer here in Australia and win a BBL trophy? How special would that be?
That will be amazing. Win one more trophy, and first season will be more special. Always, in PSL we win 4 season, we win 3 trophies. I think all about players, how the players and the management, give you cushion to enjoy the cricket. That's the main thing, and I'm really hopeful. Brisbane hit a very good side, and you know, looking forward to take one more trophy with us.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on The Surge. Congratulations on being the number 1 pick in the BBL draft, and we cannot wait for you to come down here in Australia and strut your stuff. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, time to look at the WBBL draft. And there was a real surprise at the start, Finchy, because Sophia Dunkley was pick number 1 for the Sydney Sixers. Now, I don't think there's too many people that thought that was going to happen. You were there. What was it like on the floor when that name was mentioned, Dunkley, at number 1?
Well, Soph was the first word out, and everyone just expected it to be Sophie Eccleston,
yes,
who got picked number 2. But she's a gun. Sophia Dunkley is an absolute gun, and they identified that they need more out of their batting group, the Sydney Sixers. So they thought that was the right pick. Her trajectory as a player is just going through the roof. So they were really confident that that was the right way to go. Yes, you're losing out having Sophie Eccleston, who's been as good as anyone in the world for a long time with her left arm spin, but they felt that they could cover that. So, yeah, I wasn't surprised, but also a little bit surprised, if that makes any kind of sense, that you still have to pick what's best for your team. You don't just necessarily get the best player because they're available. They still have to fit into your side well.
So this is how the number 1 pick was announced yesterday.
The first selection is with the Sydney Sixers.
Yeah, we've picked Sophia Dunkley.
So even just listening then, there was real confidence, or no hesitation with what they were doing with that number 1 pick.
Well, they've had that in the bag for quite a while, haven't they? So if you turn up to a draft with the number 1 pick and you're still unsure, there's probably some questions being asked behind the scenes. But overall, I think that they were very, very happy. They've had Sophie Eccleston there before. So, I mean, Sophia Dunkley, wonderful player.
All right, so Dunkley, Kerr, we know about Amelia Kerr for a number of years, and Villiers rounding out the Sixers selections.
Apparently, Matty Villiers is the best fielder in the world.
Right. I remember someone else saying that about Mackenzie Harvey, that there were
it's turned out to be pretty accurate, I reckon. But they were really excited to still get her in the 4th round.
Okay. All right. So that's the Sydney Sixers, the Adelaide Strikers. So Eccleston was available, so they've gone and got Eccleston. The Strikers, Volvart and Beaumont round out the top 3. They are 3 very well-known names, and a lot of experience and just a lot of good cricketers.
Yeah, they certainly are. And, I mean, to fit into a side, Sophie Eccleston, sometimes you do have to shuffle things around. I literally know I just said with the Sydney Sixers that you don't always have to get the best play. You need what's best for you. But I think if you're the Adelaide Strikers, you probably feel obliged that Sophie Eccleston is taken off the table well and truly. Tammy Beaumont, she's as experienced as anyone. She can bat at the top of the order and smack them as well. So they would not have believed their luck for her still to be available in the 4th round.
That's right.
I thought that she would go at latest in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a very, very good draft from the Adelaide Strikers.
Jemima Rodriguez at the Brisbane Heat. Now, it was a retention player, which enabled them to sort of, just play with a bit of versatility for their second 2 selections, selections 2 and 3. But Rodriguez, for someone who is tiny, the way she can hit the cricket ball is quite remarkable.
Yeah, she is tiny, but I think, again, the modern T20 player that doesn't matter their size, they still generate so much power. But she's also got the touch game as well. So the ability to manipulate the field and hit spin as well, that's a huge one. You obviously get a lot more spin overs bowled in the WBBL. So very, very good signing. As soon as the Melbourne Stars mentioned her name, they were They were hitting buttons quicker than you've ever seen to make sure that they use their attention on her. Chanel Henry, a West Indian youngster, the modern T20 player who can smack them. I mean, that was number 17 pick overall. Katie Martin, who was in studio with us yesterday, she said she will be the next global superstar in women's T20 cricket.
Right, well, there you go. That's a big big wrap there. There's no question about that. Okay, let's get to the Hobart Hurricanes now. And there was one team that hadn't announced their pre-signing player, which was the Hurricanes. They did that with Nat Sivabrunt, again, one of the biggest names in world cricket. Exactly right. So they're able to have the luxury of having her in the second round. Danny White-Hodge was the retention player, and then Lindsay Smith rounding out the three. So 3 English players heading down to the Hurricanes. A lot of experience in that group of 3, particularly the top 2 selections.
Yeah, there certainly is. Nat Sivabrunt, she's as experienced as anybody. She's played all around the world. She's a superstar. Danny White-Hodge, she's been coming back to this competition for a long time now. I think she started with the Renegades years ago, and she just keeps getting better and better and better. Brilliant. I mean, Lizelle Lee, don't forget, she goes from being an international player to being a local as well. So that they would feel like they've got 4 international players effectively. That's a dynamic top of the order.
No doubt about that. Plenty of experience and plenty of dynamism, as you said. All right, the Melbourne Stars, Amy Jones at pick 5. She's in great form with a bat for England at the moment. It seemed a good pick for the Stars to be able to get with that selection, particularly with some of their batting issues they had last summer.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And I think that, again, she's somebody who to the middle order just brings that experience as well and almost understanding how to get the job done under pressure. So T20 cricket is about having a really calm mind when there's a lot of chaos going on around you. And I think that Amy Jones certainly does that. Marizanne Kapp, she's brilliant. I love what she brings to the competition. She's fiery. She gets wickets. She swings the ball and can smack them as well. So I think overall they would be extremely happy with those two. Obviously, Kapp being a pre-sign player as well. But Danny Gibson, another all-rounder in the competition that has got so much power, just versatility. They've just got a lot there as well, haven't they?
They've got a lot that can bat and bowl in that middle order that starts.
So do you see that as times having too many options?
I think that can be the case. And I think there has been some changes even in the Stars team with players sort of going to try and get opportunity at other teams. And sometimes, you can be playing a whole season where you're getting 1 and 2 overs and you're in there to bowl. There's almost a situation where you've got team players in the team as fielders, because they're not getting much of a chance.
Yeah, and they're either bowling or batting out of position because you feel obliged to have them in the side because they're multi-skilled players.
I think there's been a lot of that with the Stars now for quite a while, and I think we had Meg Lanning in here last week, and she spoke about the fact that a lot of the reasons why the Stars haven't been right up the top in recent times is their batting, and that's on Meg to a certain extent, certainly on Annabelle Sutherland to be able to lift, because I think they probably more than any other team have got the international stars that are Australian players in their team.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Thunder. Now, I think this is an interesting one with the Thunder because, we were talking to Meg last week about this, and she said Heather Knight, absolutely so important to them from a cultural point of view as much as how she plays the game. Yeah,
she's a real leader, isn't she? She's done it for so long as well. And I mean, look at some of the names down the list. There's some youngsters with real dynamic games, and then you've got the consistency in the old heads, Nat Sivabrunt, Heather Knight, that have seen it all in the game and can probably help guide the next generation of players in a direction that the game is going. And that's as important as anything in this game. And Ismail, again, they could not believe that she was available at pick 19. They could not believe that right throughout. She's another superstar that keeps getting the job done wherever she plays. Shamari Adapadu as the pre-signing as well. Just it gives them so much flexibility. That's a very, very good draft.
Yeah. It looks like the Thunder have done very well in the men's and women's competitions when we think about the draft. So the Melbourne Renegades, now you could tell with Simon Helmet, now Simon should have been very happy. He's just been re-signed as the coach. He should have had a big smile on his face. But you were there in the studio. I was watching on television. I think he was still smarting from the news that he wasn't going to have their star player.
Yeah, that was big news, and probably the reason the Melbourne Renegades only took 2 picks in the draft is because they need some time to regather and say, right, which direction are we going to go here? They tried their very best to get a player that can, the same skill set as Hayley Matthews, and they got that with Alice Capsey.
She's played at the Renegades before.
Yeah, she has, but
she's not Hayley Matthews.
No, she's not. Very, very good player, but Hayley Matthews is difficult to replace. Deandra Dotton, she was retained. I don't think that was any surprise to anyone. A lot of power, inconsistent maybe, but I think the women's game needs power through those middle overs, particularly against the spin, and she brings that. So, yeah, it was disappointing.
What do they do? I mean, I know it's difficult, and as you said, they need time now to try and work out what to do. But when you see all the superstars that have been selected in the draft, it's not like there's 4 or 5 stars that are just sitting there waiting to be selected now.
No, what it does now, though, the fact that they didn't use a pick in the draft to go with someone out of panic.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was the right decision.
That gives them time to assess everything up to the 11th hour.
Yep.
And they say, right, how's our squad shaping up? What's the form line of all our players within the squad, and who best fits into that now? They could have made an emotional decision and just gone with the best player available and then found a way to fit that player into your side, but I don't think that ever works. I've been a part of it when you try it, you see a player and you think, right, we have to have that.
Yeah.
And then you put so many other players out by trying to fit one person in that you end up with so much reliance on that superstar that it's inevitable that it fails. So well done on not getting dragged into that and then going, right, let's take a breath. Let's sit back and relax and watch what unfolds over the next couple of months and get exactly what we need at that time.
They must have a name up their sleeve. They must.
They must. They have to.
Dotton and Capsey, the 2 that the Renegades chose. And finally, the Perth Scorchers. Sophie Devine returns to the Scorchers. Schofield and Tryon round out their collection of players that were drafted yesterday.
Yeah, Paige Schofield, some batting depth there. She provides. Chloe Tyron, she's a big hitter and bowls some handy spin. And you could tell by Beth Mooney's reaction how stoked she was that she was still available at number 21. And that's a pretty common theme. I talked about Chanel Henry at the Heat before, how they couldn't believe she was there. And I think it just goes to show the depth of both drafts, the men and women, and the men and women's, that there were still some seriously good players. And this is probably the advantage of having more women's leagues going around the world now. To think of how big the WPL's got, and players are getting the opportunity to play with and against more and more players. So they're seeing that level of depth there, and that's why players like Chloe Tryon are getting picked up late, because they're still serious players.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we've had a big show. We've gone through both the men's and women's draft from yesterday. We obviously had a good chat to one of the stars of world cricket as well. But just, I want to put you under the pressure, under the pump a little bit before we go. The winner of the drafts, is there ones that stand out for you that feel like they've really done a particularly good job?
If Sam Curran is available for the whole tournament, which I'm unsure of his full availability, then the Sydney Sixers win the draft with Babar Azam, Sam Curran, Jaffa Chauhan. If he's not, then I think the Sydney Thunder have won the draft with getting Lockie Ferguson back, Shadab Khan is superstar, and Sam Billings, their pre-signing down in the 3rd round. That long contract gives them a lot of flexibility. There's some serious players all around. I mean, you could make a case for every side with what they've got, but I think that the 2 Sydney sides are head and shoulders above, I think.
And it does show also the different strategies around wanting the best player, but also trying to get players that will be there for the entire tournament.
Yeah, and it's still unsure what the best way to go is. Obviously, you want the best players available right at the end, but you still have to get to the end.
Yeah.
There's no point having the best players available for the last 4 games if you're already out of the competition. So, I'm not sure which is the best. Particularly if you think that your side is maybe thin on depth as well. Obviously, the best players in the world you want available the whole time, but it's unrealistic in the modern game that you're going to get everybody available for long enough. But overall, I think most clubs would be happy with where they sit, and everyone says that at this time of the year anyway, don't
Yeah,
they?
they do. But sometimes it's good to also have something up your sleeve that you might be able to bring a player in for a couple of matches later on. Having that flexibility can be important.
Yeah. And injuries are inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, the tournament's still quite a while away, so have that up your sleeve as well. Teams will still be working a lot behind the scenes. I mean, Jofra Archer, he's not going to miss out on this competition if he's not in the Ashes squad.
Well, but even if they are in the Ashes squad, I'm still not convinced that there's not going to be someone that's just going to maybe hang around for a few extra weeks and play some cricket before they go home.
I'd be very surprised if they didn't either.
Absolutely.
And in the women's game, I think the Brisbane Heat, I know that like Jemima Rodriguez, she's a serious player, and I'm taking putting all my faith in Katie Martin, saying Chanel Henry is going to be the next global superstar in T20 cricket, and for them to get her at pick 17, that is very, very good.
I reckon the Sydney Thunder did pretty well as well.
Oh, of course they did. Yeah.
No, fair enough. All right, you go Heat, I'll go Thunder.
Okay.
Thanks for being part of the program. Really appreciate it. It's great to have you in and chatting cricket. It's always good to talk cricket in the middle of winter here in Australia.
Always.
I hope you've enjoyed it as well. So that's a coverage of both the WBBL and also the BBL draft for 2025. Tell you what, it'll come around quick. We're not too far away from the latest instalment of BBL.